Hey, folks, Gene Galin here with the Chatham Journal. I got Asheebo, Rojas of the Chatham News and Record, and we have a full schedule right there. You can look at it, the agenda for today's ChathamNC Sports Roundup. We're doing this an hour earlier because the New Hampton Inn Hotel is opening up in Pittsburgh, and they're having their ribbon cutting at noontime, and I've got to be there for that. However, that's not the important stuff. The important stuff is look at what we're going to be talking about. Asheebo's got lots to talk about this week. Again, we're going to talk about the Friday night playoff games coming up tomorrow. We're also going to talk about Northwood having a new baseball coach. He was introduced on Tuesday. Then Asheebo's going to get into what's in the newspaper from a sports perspective. The paper comes out today. Asheebo's, again, Athlete of the Week. We're going to talk about the high school playoffs, some surprises there. Both on the good side and the bad side. Then we found out just a few days ago that there are 5 Chatham County student athletes who made the all-state team and that's the volleyball all-state teams. And then coming up, Asheebo's working on the basketball previews. He's going to talk a little bit about that in his news stories, and then we're going to just talk about that. And look, we are not going to have any power rankings till next week. So you guys have another week of relaxation, and we will have power rankings. Asheebo will have the power rankings for both the boys and the girls Chatham County schools. So let me get rid of this graphic here, and let's go ahead and Mr. Asheebo, let's get into what's on the Friday night football playoffs for tomorrow night.
Yes, we can start with Chatham Central down in the 1A bracket. They're going to be the 29th seed playing against number 4 Pender and going down east for their first round game. And Chatham Central last week, they actually unofficially got their second win of the season, which I think was the first time, will be unofficially the first time that they've won more than one game in the season since 2018. And with this game for the Bears, coming off that win with some positive momentum going into the playoffs, that'll be big for them. I'm pretty sure they got Reed Douglas back in full swing there at quarterback after they've had him for a couple weeks here at the end of the season. So they're going into a tough opponent in Pender. And, Pender was looking at some of their stats before, we wrote the previews for these football playoff games. And they're led by running back Jeremiah Johnson. He's rushed for over 100 yards every game this year, scoring 30 touchdowns. And, he's hit the 200-yard mark in a couple games, actually 6 times this year. So, that's a big task for Chatham Central to stop Pender's run game. That's going to be kind of the biggest key for them in this game if they want to have a chance at pulling off the upset. But then Northwood, they're 2016 in the 2A bracket on the east side, and they're going down to Eastern Wayne tomorrow at 7 p.m., the 7th seed. And Eastern Wayne, this is a team, they played in not the best conference this season, but they took care of business in their conference, 5-0 in the 2A News Conference. They have a pretty decent quarterback in Isaiah Oates, who's thrown for over 1,500 yards, 24 touchdowns, and only just 10 interceptions going into Friday. On the defensive side, Eastern Wayne has been pretty good defensively against their conference opponents and pretty much some of their non-conference opponents this year as well. And the biggest thing for them is turnovers. I think they've gotten 15 interceptions and from 9 different players this season from their defensive backfield and linebackers. So, it won't be easy going down to Eastern Wayne tomorrow, but I've talked to some of the people at Northwood. They're confident in what they can do tomorrow. They feel like they can come out of there with a win and move on to the second round. But the key there, when I look at Eastern Wayne, when I look at what Northwood has done this season, the key for Northwood to me would just be limiting turnovers offensively and establishing a good control of the line of scrimmage to establish a run game and get that going to open some things up on the offense.
Hold on for a second. I've got a question. Let me do this. I got to do this. All right. I got a question. You said unofficially Chatham Central won their second game. What do you mean unofficially?
Well, I think that last game they played against East Columbus wasn't supposed to be uploaded into Max Preps, which it was kind of an extra game they played with the extra week they got from Hurricane Helene that pushed the football schedule back. But because they've already played 10 games before that game I don't think counted towards their RPI or their official record. It was just an extra opportunity to get a game in before the playoffs there.
Okay. Yeah, because Northwood did that the week before with Hope County because I don't think the coaches wanted to go 2 weeks without going into the playoffs without having 2 week worth of break. So, but basically they did win. It's just a unofficial win, so they have won 2 games this season.
Yep. But yeah,
All
on the
right,
record, it will say 1-9. But this year, yeah, they did go unofficially 2-9 this year.
Well, congratulations to Coach Little and the all the players at Chatham Central. It's nice to have that second win, even if it's unofficial, because it does count. And I'm sure they're going to have good memories of the fact that they won that last game.
Oh, yeah.
Anything else on the football playoff situation? You mentioned someone from another paper is going to be covering one of the games on Friday. I can't cover any of the games tomorrow, so but you'll have information out there. And the other thing, folks, is you can follow Asheebo Rojas R38. Asheebo R38 on X because he does update stuff even if he's not at a specific site. So, all right. Anything else on football for tomorrow night?
No, I think we covered it. Just got 2
All
playoff
right.
games.
All right. Next, I'm going to try to bring up this picture. Next, coming up is we've got something going on at Chatham over at Northwood. Let me see if I can get this picture to come up. It is, there you go. That is the new coach at Northwood, new baseball coach, and they had their introduction on Tuesday. Asheebo, you were busy over there looking at. You watched the basketball, and then you gave a presentation or a speech to a group of folks over there at Northwood. Can you tell us a little bit about what you were doing at Northwood on Tuesday?
Yeah, so I actually was invited to speak at the Northwood National English Honor Society induction ceremony on Tuesday. Got a chance to do that and spoke with the new inductees. Good to see some of the Northwood athletes as well that we were familiar with, like Sydney Gray, Julia Hall involved with the club as well. So it was a great opportunity. Very thankful to the Northwood National English Honor Society and Ms. Udima for allowing me to come down and speak with the students there. So yeah, that was great time with the students. And then after that, I actually stayed and watched Northwood's boys playing their jamboree, watched them play against Apex Friendship, and talked to Coach Brown and some of the players afterwards for some basketball previews coming out next week. And also too, we talked to the girls team as well Tuesday night after their practice. So yeah, very busy at Northwood on Tuesday night. Unfortunately, I didn't get to stop in for the introduction with the new baseball coach, Brent Haynes. But as he said in the statement they released last week, he's very excited to join Northwood this season. And he's coming from Williams, I think, after being there for 1 year and has some prior experience coaching as well at Eastern Randolph for a little bit. He also spent time at his alma mater, Southern Alamance, and he was a pitching coach and recruit coordinator at Guilford Tech Community College. So he has some experience on the college and high school level. And he also serves with the Dirtbags travel team, which has produced a lot of college signees and MLB draft picks as well. So I think it's a really good hire for Northwood, and it looks like they're bringing in a lot of good experience for the team, and also someone who can maybe push some guys on the college as well once they get done there at Northwood.
Well, we wish him the best of luck. And folks, I'm sure Asheebo will have a story coming up sometime in the near future before baseball season kicks off. In fact, he'll probably have a baseball preview of all the schools in the county because we do have some good baseball players here in the county. All right, I'm going to take the coach off here and let's get into the paper comes out today, the Chatham News and Record. Asheebo is going to give us a rundown. I know it's a busy time of year. And actually, I did not put it on the agenda, and I know some coach will be upset with me about this, but wrestling also started this week, but we're not going to get into that at this moment. We will get into it later. So, Asheebo, give us a rundown of what you've got in the paper if they pick up the paper today.
Yeah, so, of course, we have our Chatham County boys and girls basketball previews, separate stories for the boys and girls, but it's the Chatham Schools edition this week as the Chatham Schools, the charter schools, get started this week. Well, Chatham Charter actually started last week on Friday, but Woods Charter boys and girls will get started tonight against Cornerstone Charter at home. And you can read all about, both teams for each school going into their seasons with the previews. We talked to them last week. Of course, we have our story on Northwood hiring Brent Haynes as a new baseball coach. We also have our fall roundup with a recap of some of the soccer playoff action the past couple days. Excuse me. Seaforth won their first boys soccer playoff game this year, and they're still alive as they'll get to take on James Keenan in the third round tonight. So you can read more about their the beginning of their playoff run and also some football content going into tomorrow night. Just a little bit of a preview of what to expect tomorrow as our football teams take on some other teams in the playoffs. And then we also have a story coming out tomorrow online. It's in the paper now, but it's just a recap of what former athletes are taking on the winter season on the college level. So from basketball to swimming, we have some athletes going into their winter seasons at the college level, and I try my best to get all that I think are still active. Please, if you read that story and there's some that I missed, please let me know. We can add them in on an online story, and also I'll remember it for the next time we do a story like this, highlighting the college athletes. So, yeah, that's what we have coming out in the paper this week.
All right. So that, folks, you need to pick up the paper, and that's pretty. How many athletes did you pick up out of the college that have gone on to college and are going to be participating in winter sports on the college level?
Let me see. It was quite a few.
All right. You don't have to tell specific names because, folks, if you want to see who's in there, you just need to pick up the paper.
Yeah, I think it was like seven boys and 5 girls for basketball. Is what I saw so far, and then we had I think 4 in swimming and diving as well.
So you got a dozen and a half athletes, Chatham County student athletes who are now playing on the college level. So you can pick up the paper and read about that. And of course, one of the favorite things every week, and I think a couple of weeks ago, Asheebo actually had 2 athletes of the week in 1 week, the first time ever for him. But who's the athlete of the week this week?
Yeah, athlete of the week this week is Nick Glover from Chatham Central's football team. He did a lot in that win against East Columbus on Friday. He caught 2 touchdown passes, one for 15 yards, the other for 30. He also rushed for 51 yards and a touchdown. And on the defensive end, he had 6 tackles and 3 solos. And so, just Nick has been, a big piece for Chatham Central this season on both sides of the ball. He's taking on some quarterback duties as well as receiver duties, and then playing, I think, a little bit in that safety position as a defensive back there, helping out the defense as well. So we saw how good of a player he was at Jordan Matthews. He continued that this year at Chatham Central as a junior. And, yeah, we'll get to see what he does in a playoff game tomorrow when they go down to number 4 Pender.
All right. So even though it was an unofficial win for Chatham Central, Nick Glover is your official athlete of the week. Is that correct?
Oh yeah. Even though the win doesn't show up in the record, they still put the ball down and play the game. So whatever is done is valid for me.
Well, Nick, congratulations. And the other thing, congratulations to Coach Little and his coaching staff. They've done a very nice job. They keep on moving ahead. And I'm sure next year when we have the media day for the football teams, they'll have even more good news as to what they're planning for the 2025 season. All right. Let's have you get into the soccer playoffs because there's some good news there and some bad news. And I guess surprises both good and bad. So let's have you talk about what's going on in the soccer playoffs.
Yeah, so in the soccer playoffs, we only had Jordan Matthews and Seaforth there on the 2A side, and both teams actually survived the first round with Jordan Matthews as the 15 seed. They defeated number 18 Holmes in the first round Saturday 2-1. But they fell short in the second round. They went to Wallace Rose Hill and lost that game 3-0. So they've been eliminated from the playoffs. But Seaforth, kind of an incredible, improbable playoff run for them as a 28 seed. They went to Camden County and pulled off the upset over the number 5 seed, 1-0. And then they got number 21 Manio, who also put off an upset in the first round. And they Seaforth took care of Manio in PKs 4-2 after they ended the regulation tied at 1-1. And yeah, I mean that's a big thing for the Hawks this year as well. And we've seen a little bit from Jordan Matthews too, but winning those close games and being able to fight, you know, when it's tight like that, and they're showing that this year in the playoffs. So Seaforth will be playing at James Keenan tonight. A tough game for them. James Keenan has been a really good team this year, but I mean, it looks like Seaforth. For Seaforth, it doesn't matter how good a team is. It looks like they're showing up and they're giving their best out there on the field. So who knows? Let's see if they can pull off another upset and move on to the fourth round tonight.
Let me just interrupt. We had a technical issue where we're actually not going out on Facebook. We are going out on YouTube and X. For the Facebook folks, what I'm going to do is when we finish this up, I'm just going to link to the X feed so you folks can watch it there and also on YouTube. And I apologize. Don't know why it didn't go over to Facebook, but we will. I should have checked ahead of time, but we've never had this problem before. But if you're looking for us on Facebook, no worries. We will link to X and YouTube so you can watch it afterwards. All right. Anything else on the high school playoffs that folks need to be aware of? I guess Seaforth coach must be happy with his team if they won 2 games, and the way they won that last game in overtime shots at goal. That was a fun, because actually the girls soccer team won their championship last year that way too, didn't they?
So. Yep, Giovanni Viana, head coach of the boys and girls, he got the state championship just in June, and I talked to him a couple of times about the boys team this year, and they had lost some key players from last year that they expected to kind of really take them over the top this season. But they, even without those players, they've still shown flashes, being a really good team. And I think one of the biggest games where that showed is when they played Jordan Matthews, I think for the first time at Jordan Matthews' place, and their goalie, Jack Case, goes down, but instead of Jordan Matthews, running up the score, they're still in the 0-0 game with Jordan Matthews for most of the time. And of course they lost that one, I think 1-0. But I mean, that just showed, they have the fight and they have the pieces to be able to compete in tough games, which they're finally showing here in the playoffs.
All right. Well, we hope Seaforth wins tonight, so we'll see what happens. I assume it's raining throughout most of North Carolina, so the field may be a little wet, but I don't think it's going to be raining hard enough for them not to be able to play that game. All right. Next thing on the agenda is we got the Chatham County volleyball players who've made the NCVBCA All-State teams, and those selections are made. And actually, let me see if I can't pop this up. Those selections are made by the volleyball coaches, and here's one of the folks who made it from Seaforth first team. There you go, Josie Valgas. And actually, Josie was one of your athletes of the week, wasn't she?
Yeah, remember she was a co-athlete of the week with Maris Honeycutt a couple weeks ago when they both hit career milestones during the playoffs. And yeah, Josie, I think back-to-back first team, if I'm not mistaken, for her All-State. I know this is back-to-back All-State, but yeah, just once again showing how great of a player she is all season, and especially helping Seaforth get over the top and reach the state championship game this year with that core they brought back. And then also, too, Maris Honeycutt also made it on the 2A All-State team for the second team from Seaforth. And once again, a really great player. She was a senior this past year and was really huge in C4's state championship run as well. And on the 1A side, we have Carolee Dotson for Chatham Central. She made the second team. Maya Sheridan, Woods Charter, also on the second team. And then Taylor Banbrook from Woods Charter as well made the second team. So, yeah, I mean, it was just a great year of volleyball all around in the county, and the great players that made the all-state teams. And even so, I had to check the all-region team as well. Really exemplified just how high level of play we saw with volleyball this year.
Yeah, congratulations to all the ladies. And as you mentioned, the two C4 ladies were your players of the week a couple of weeks ago. So congratulations to those. And I think, again, Woods is strong. I think isn't C4 losing 2 or 3 players, but for the most part, they've got a lot of sophomores and juniors who will be back again next year.
Yep.
And we saw them play in the championship game against McMichael. And one of the things they said in their post game conference was the fact that they're hoping to be back next year. Now, again, it's not going to be a 2A because they're probably going to change divisions, but I think the coaches and the players are planning to be here next year. All right, let me get rid of this one, and then what we're going to do is we will start talking about wrestling next week, but the big thing coming up right now is the basketball previews. And Asheebo, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're doing, what you're assembling, what you feel. I know you've talked with several of the coaches. You were at JM's. You can talk about the JM Jamboree that they had over at Siler City. Just give us a feel of generally what you're seeing. Who are going to be the top players, who you're feeling. Again, we're not doing a power ranking this week, but who are you feeling? What are the strengths of the teams that you've already managed to talk with, both on the boys' side and the girls' side?
Yeah, so especially we can start with the charter schools since they'll get started. Well, Woods Charter is getting started tonight. But, yeah, we talked to Woods Charter's boys, and, they've really – they really talked about how the focus has really zeroed in this year, and they're getting a lot more commitment out of the guys. Now that they've gotten a taste of the playoffs last year, they know what it takes to get there, and now it's time to kind of build on that and do it again and kind of, like we said, replicate that success. And then for Woods Charter's girls, it talks to them as well. They have some standouts in their young group, and they're also seeing some more commitment out of their team, and they're looking to improve, in the win column as well, and compete in the conference and potentially push for a playoff run. And so some good things coming out of Woods Charter there for both schools. And then Chatham Charter, I think with the boys, they get Brandon Lavelle back from his injury. They're really confident with what they have, and they have a newcomer in Gabe McCoy, who looked really good in their first game against Research Triangle with handling the ball and being a scorer as well. So, and Coach Jason Messier, he was adamant. This team might take a little bit, to get it all together, but he's very confident that the team we see now in day one will be a lot different than what they'll be in a couple weeks. So, really excited to see how they do, especially with the loss of Aiden Allred and Jonah Ridgel from last season, who are really big for them. And then on the girls' side for Chatham Charter, they're looking to kind of retool their roster a little bit. Talking to Coach Patterson, he wants his girls to kind of get comfortable in new roles that they'll be in, especially with Mia Brooks graduating. They don't have Hannah Hedden this year. She transferred to a different school. And so they have some girls stepping up. Like I think her name was Peyton York. She played really well in that first game against Research Triangle, defensively and offensively. And it looks like they're looking, to really produce a lot out of their defense with turnovers, getting out in transition, and getting easy buckets there, both from three and down in the paint. So, yeah, really exciting things coming out of our charter schools going into this year. But going around to some of our other schools in the Mid-Carolina 1A, 2A conference, I mean, just to give some big standouts, I think some of the biggest things I've seen so far, especially at the Jamboree, was Jordan Matthews, the boys team. And They added Nolan Mitchell, who's a freshman. If you guys remember, Nolan has been the quarterback for the football team this year and does some good things for them with running the ball, throwing as well. But on the basketball court, he's just as good as an athlete. I mean, get to the basket, making good reads, along with some of their veterans, Kamari Hadley, and some of the other guys that they had handling the ball last year. I think Jordan Matthews could be kind of a surprise team this year on the boys' side, depending on how that team comes together and how they kind of add that experience along with the new skill they've gotten this year, even with the departure of Brendan Oldham to Chatham Central. So really excited to see what the Jets can do this year. We got a first look at Coach Barry and his team. Now, I don't think he didn't have all his players at the Jamboree because Nate Emerson has been sitting out early on this year. But Seaforth, they're looking like they're really hungry defensively. They're going to be try to really be aggressive on the defensive end and still trying to work out some things offensively as well. But looking forward to what we're going to see out the Hawks on the boys' side as well. And then girls basketball is a little interesting so far from what I've seen. If you guys remember, Sydney Ballard from Seaforth, the big girl down low, she's now at Northwood, and Northwood has added a lot of size with that. They got some girls coming up from JV as well that also have some size. And I was watching their practice yesterday. I mean, I think they can potentially be the best team in the county this year over Seaforth, depending on how things go. Of course, we have to see how the teams look when they hit the court. But just the size they have is really impressive. And as well as, coming back with Natalia Whitaker handling the ball, I think, and Nia Henry as well, that they're in the backcourt with Leah Roberts, another shooter for them. I think they could be a really dangerous team this year. But, of course, we know Seaforth with Katie Leonard, Gabby White, that core, we know how dangerous they could be as well with Coach Bird. I mean, it's just a really good program. They have a really high standard that they're looking to uphold, and they're also hungry. They have a chip on their shoulder from how the last season ended in the regional final. So, yeah, I think girls basketball is going to be even more competitive than maybe we saw even last year when Northwood, was neck and neck with Seaforth, and even got them there at the end of the year. We could see a little bit more back and forth between those two schools at the top of the Mid-Carolina 1A, 2A conference.
Yeah, it appears that it is going to be another fun season here for high school basketball in Chatham County. The other thing I need to let folks know is on December 4th, it's going to be the Battle of Pittsburgh. And you're going like, what? Yeah, it's going to be Jaron Stevenson from Alabama coming to UNC to play up against and I know it's a team sport, but the thing Chatham County folks are going to be interested in, Jaron Stevenson in Alabama coming to play up against UNC with Drake Powell from Northwood. And Asheebo will be at that game covering it. So, again, follow him at Asheebo R38. And just a reminder, Asheebo's got a story on like a dozen and a half student athletes from Chatham County who are now playing at the college level. So pick up a copy of the Chatham News and Record and read all the stuff that Asheebo's out there. Follow him on Asheebo R38. I have no idea where I'm going to be next week. Do you have any idea where you're going to be? You're going to be somewhere tonight, or you're going to be somewhere tomorrow, but you're still not sure about next week. Is that right?
Yeah, not sure about next week. Once again, we have to see about Seaforth. If they win tonight, they could be playing again Saturday for the fourth round. Of course, if we have a football team win tomorrow night, we'll be back out there Friday night for some more action. But there's also I know we talk about wrestling next week, but there is some good action going on this week, just to let you guys know about. Got this from Jared Worley, the AD at Seaforth. Seaforth will be hosting 1A champs URA Charter on Friday at Seaforth at 6 p.m. Should be a really good match. Early test for Seaforth's wrestling team as they take on a really good program at URA Charter. And that's tomorrow. But yeah, I mean, Seaforth, I think they picked up some wins, actually 3 wins yesterday in their first home meet. Jordan Matthews also competed yesterday. So yeah, like Gene said, wrestling is in full swing. So we're going to get around to that more probably next week and in the coming weeks as well. So yeah, I think that's think that's all. Is anything else we needed to talk about, Gene?
No, I guess the big thing is this week and next week are kind of transition week where we're moving from fall sports into winter sports. We will be catching up on all this stuff. Sheebo's been going out there. You're going to have more of a basketball preview stories on next week's paper. I do want to let the folks who are watching this on Facebook right now, we did manage to bring you on. We did have an issue, and the first time in the last year and a half that we've been doing this, where it wasn't going out from the beginning. So on our Facebook page, I will post the link to our X and YouTube channel, which that did go out on it fine. I'm seeing right now on Facebook, there's half a dozen of you watching on Facebook and half a dozen of you actually watching on X. So we're averaging right now about 600 to 800 folks watching on Facebook every week and another 200 on X. So we appreciate you watching it. Apologize about the technical issues today. Next week, I'll make sure to check on that. I hadn't been checking on it because it's been working fine, but I will make sure that next week we are checking on it. We should be back to our regular time next week on at noontime on Thursday. And then the last thing I just want to remind folks, and I keep on reminding you folks about this every week, but it is good to know because what Asheebo is doing is he's not only writing in the paper, he's not only putting this, the stories aren't just showing up on the Chatham News and Record site, but he is a great follow on X. So just go to Asheebo R38. And the other thing too is after a lot of the games, he's doing post game interviews with players and with coaches. And his post game interviews have gotten so popular that I've had players come up to me and go, "How come I wasn't interviewed by Asheebo after the game?" And I'm like, "Look, Asheebo does the best that he can, but he's only one person. Sometimes I'm out there as well, but I appreciate what he's doing. So, and the other one too is if your grandma does not know how to use X so she can't see you in the post game interview, teach her how to use X. It's not that hard. All right, folks, we'll see you next Thursday. Asheebo, as always, Asheebo is the man covering all sports here in Chatham County. And make sure to follow him and make sure to pick up the paper. Hey, support local journalism. Pick up a hard copy of the paper and read about all the stuff Asheebo has. And if your favorite player is being covered, cut it out and put it on your refrigerator door. I mean, that's what I used to do with my kids.
Hold on,
Anything
Jay.
else, Asheebo, before we say bye?
Yeah, I was going to say, before we go, I did want to put this out here that the North Carolina High School Athletic Association did release the ADM numbers for the 2024-25 school year. So there's a little bit of more clarity on what the 8 classification model could look like next year. And high school OT, they put the schools in their respective classifications based on their ADM numbers and what that could look like. So just to give you an early idea of where the schools could, our Chatham County schools could be in next year's classification model. Seaforth with over 1,000 students, they're looking to be in 5A. We got Jordan Matthews, that's at 900. They're looking to be in 4A. Northwood at 676 students, a 3A school possibly next year. Chatham Central, Chatham Charter, and Woods Charter are looking to return to 1A once again. So we'll have our 1A schools looking like it looks like they'll be all together, but it's likely that we'll have Northwood, JM, and Seaforth all in different classifications next year.
All right. Well, that will definitely make things interesting for next year. However, Asheebo and I, when we talked with Jared, he said one of the things that he would like to see is they would still like to continue to play against Northwood. Again, both schools are in the same town, and I think also when we talked to some of the other coaches, even if they're different in classifications, they still want to play the other teams here in Chatham County. So we'll see what happens next year, folks. But what Asheebo and I are hearing is that coaches would still like to play against the other teams here in the county. It's just great to bring folks in the community together for those kind of events. Anything else, Asheebo?
Nope, we got it all covered.
All right, and folks, you heard the possible classifications first from Asheebo right here. All right, folks, we'll see you next Thursday at noontime. Thank you very much for watching. Again, Facebook, folks, we will post the link to X and YouTube so you can watch the first half that you missed on Facebook. Thank you very much.